Welcome back, everybody. If you're new, my name's Nicholas, and this is Investing Against the Grain. In today's episode, we're going to be talking and reacting to Tesla stock. Today, it's on a run-up like no other. Classic Tesla run-up right now. We're going to talk about why this is happening and why this may not be as bullish as we think it is. And I think some people might be getting ahead of themselves, and I'll tell you about that in a little bit here. Also, if you stick to the end, I'll talk about why I did not make a video yesterday. I had planned on doing one yesterday, but the engineer in me just got completely sidetracked with some chaos that happened here. But it's actually very applicable to this channel. Investing against the grain, it has to do with investing in a sense of how to spend your money appropriately. So stick to the end. I'll talk about that. It has something to do with my house. So if you're interested in that, watch till the very end. But with that said, do me a favor, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, ring that bell, and let's get into it. So here we are back in Webull taking a look at Tesla, and let's unpack what we have going on here. So this is the daily on a per minute basis. If I just zoom out here a bit, you can kind of see, we've just been on a tear all morning. We broke 1,000. We're above 1,000 again. So that literally just happened over the last few minutes. So that's pretty exciting. That's a very big psychological barrier to make sure we get back over there. But let's look at this from a daily perspective and over the last month. So I'm just going to change this to 1 month. I'm going to change this to looking at the daily. And here is why I say not so fast, all right? Now, I do think that we are going to move higher. And if you ask me just in general, I would say that we have bottomed, and from here on out, we're going to run up into the end of the year and into January. So why do I say hold on, though? From just a chart and analytical perspective, here we can see this red line, which essentially was the downturn, and you can see everything was just sloping down here. So I would say in order to truly consider this over, that we'd have to cross over this red line and essentially break these barriers here. Now, I'm not a chartist. I'm not a person who spends a lot of time looking at this or analyzing it, but this is just what I think would prove to be a very strong reversal. Now, with that said, I could also make the argument that breaking past this level, this 995 level, also indicates that. But that's just a stronger level. Now, what I want to show you, though, is something that's very interesting. So I'm just going to scroll out here. We filled the gap. This is the gap that we had here back in, call it October, at just the end of October, right? And we gapped up and we filled it. So we filled that. That's great. The other bullish note to go on with today's movement is that, and you can see here, we're soaring. We're up to 1,007, right? We're up $70, call it, on the day. Probably about to break 70 right now. But with that said, if you look at this channel, check out this channel. This is the channel that we are pretty much riding up for the majority of the year, right? Back since May, we were riding this channel up and up, up and to right, up and to right. And then we broke out of this higher channel level. So you can see that this was a resistance that we would just stay between. And then we broke out, and that led into us gapping up. Now, breaking out of this top level of this channel created a support for us. And when we broke it here, you could see that we dove back down. Now, the fact that we have gone back above that channel, and if we can close this candle out to be above the channel, I think that's a very bullish sign. Now, again, I know I have this red line here, but that's just for more so the ultra conservative people when it comes to looking at charting. Again, look at this, 112, right? We are just rallying. But this is from a charting perspective. As far as what the movement looks like, clearly the movement is on the upside. So I think, again, we're going to keep on ripping up for the rest of the year and into January as we predicted. But here's the real question. Why is this happening? And is this happening under false pretenses? And I think it may be happening under false pretenses. So let's dive into that. I believe there are two catalysts that are behind this current momentum up to do with this current rip up in the Tesla stock price. The first one has to do with the Build Back Better plan. Take a look at these headlines that have come out over the last few hours. Everything we see here has to do with Joe Manchin and talk about these coal miners who are asking Manchin to reconsider the Build Back Better plan. We see down here that Manchin joins the Senate Democrats to discuss future of Build Back Better. Biden has indicated that he wants to get something done, that he will get something done one way or another, that him and Manchin will get to a place where they can both agree. And it seems like there's a new emphasis or level of hope that Build Back Better may still come to fruition. So I think a lot of investors are still hoping and optimistic about this EV tax credit that could come. But keep in mind, that could be something that gets nixed from the bill should it pass at all. Also, another way the bill could be modified would just be dropping the union tax credit portion of it. Either way, we don't really know what's going on, and I think this may be kicking a little bit of a dopamine effect into the stock price today, but it is not the only catalyst. I think there is another catalyst, arguably potentially a bigger one that might be even more misleading or just kind of people getting a little ahead of themselves. So let's take a look at that. So the second catalyst I think might be a little misleading. To understand it, we have to start a little backwards, and we'll start off with this tweet from Dave Lee. So Dave Lee tweeted saying, "I can't believe the Babylon Bee put the final half of Elon Musk interview behind a subscription paywall. R." So this was a interview for Elon Musk with the Babylon Bees, and it premiered last night. And my fiance and I, we stayed up, we watched it, and much to our dismay, when we were halfway through this interview, that was it. We had to go onto the Babylon website, the Babylon Bee website, and there was a paywall. You had to pay $15, I think, to subscribe. And so I wasn't about to do that. Honestly, paywalls disgust me. It's just not something I'm a fan of, especially with stuff like this with Elon Musk, right? Things where you don't think he would want to do that. But Dave Lee goes on to say, "Hey, the Babylon Bee, if you score an interview with Elon Musk, you should at least make the entire interview free for people to watch without having to pay your yearly subscription fee. Come on now." And then he continues saying, "Hey, the Babylon Bee, you're pissing off a lot of Elon Musk's biggest fans. Just add the second half to your YouTube channel for free. It's the right thing to do. Did you even tell Elon that you would charge people to watch the full interview? And he signed off on that?" The Babylon Bee did respond saying, "Dave, we hear you. Here's the full free version. We've taken down the original tweet and we're reposting this version." So kudos to Babylon Bee for doing the right thing. It sucks that we even had to have this conversation, and thankfully Dave Lee called him out. And, you know, Dave Lee does have some clout within this space and anything to do with Elon Musk, right? People listen to him. He's a huge YouTuber. So this was great. It allowed us to get the rest of the interview, but it's just sad we had to go to it to deal with that at all. But nevertheless, Babylon Bee, thank you for doing the right thing. You didn't have to, but you did, so kudos to you. Now, let's get back into the context here. So during this interview, Elon Musk talked about the Twitter poll and what led to that and him selling shares, and he alluded to being done selling or that he has sold enough to cover his taxes. And I think people are way overreacting to this and reading too much into it. Let's just take a look at this one article, for example. So here's an article from Market Watch, and I highlighted a few points that I want to call out. It said, Elon Musk said Thursday he's met his goal of selling 10% of his stake in Tesla Inc. and criticized California for overtaxation. So this is referring to what he said in the podcast. So again, it says Elon Musk said Tuesday he's met his goal for selling 10% of his stake in Tesla Inc. This is not true. This is not what he said at all, which is hilarious because they fact-checked themselves one line later. Listen to this. In a nearly hour-long podcast interview with the satirical website, The Babylon Bee, the Tesla CEO said, I sold enough stock to get to around 10% plus the option exercise stuff, and I try to be extremely literal here. It does not say that he has finished selling or that they're completely done. All this is saying that the way I read this is Elon saying that the 10B filings already exist. They're already out there. They've been in place since September, and it's going to sell everything he needs to account for his taxation of these options that he's going to exercise. So at the end of the day, nothing here really says that he's done selling, and a perfect example of that are the Form 4s that we got last night. Okay, so sure enough, right as this interview was happening, or right after, that's when the Form 4s came out. So to me, this interview happened, a couple days ago. It didn't just happen last night, and so he was timing this perfectly. I don't think he's actually done selling. Now, I say that. He might be, because something that they won't talk about in these articles, in these pieces, because it doesn't get headlines quite like this does, saying Elon Musk sold or finished selling. He did say a interesting number over and over. He said about 10%. So he kept saying that, he's going to be selling about 10%. He said that 2 or 3 times. And that caught my ear, because that indicates to me that we thought he had about 3 more sales left of about 900,000 shares. To me, that says that maybe it's just under that. Maybe he doesn't quite have entire 3 left. So last night, when another Form 4 came out on Tesla's investor relations page, it didn't have all 900,000. So let's take a look at that. So here we can see December 21st, Elon only sold 583,000 shares, right? If we look back, every time he has sold, every time he exercised, he's been selling 934,000 shares every single time. Besides the time where he sold his discretionary shares, right? This was him selling on his own accord to make sure he gets that 10% number. Every time he's been selling 934, like clockwork. But now, out of nowhere, it's only 583. Now, there was a disclaimer on one of the Form 4 filings saying that there's going to be another form filed today. So we'll see what that is. It might be the balance of this 934, but we'll just have to wait and see. So this is extremely interesting, because while I don't think what he said in the interview indicates he's completed selling, and especially since that interview happened before it went live, I do think that it's very interesting that all of a sudden we don't have 934,000 here. Instead, it's 583. So what does that mean? Who knows? We will find out soon enough. We'll know today with the second form that gets filed, and we'll know over the couple days and next week whether or not he's done selling. So my whole point of bringing this up is just I want to throw a little skepticism out there, saying if the stock is rallying purely because everyone thinks he's done selling, and then it turns out Elon isn't done selling and another million goes to be sold, that might be something to keep an eye out for. Now, this channel is all about long-term investing, so in reality, you should not care about that. I'm just really talking about this just for the holistic picture of what's going on with Tesla and the stock and Elon Musk and things of that nature, right? So this is just to add more substance to your knowledge of what the company's doing and where they're at, what management's doing, what Elon's doing, things of that nature. As far as investing, I don't think it should matter one way or another. If anything, this is my message to you. I said this in my last episode. I said that by the end of the week, we'll probably be right back where we were, which we have essentially ascended up to those levels. But I also said that Tesla was at a 30% discount. Now, if we hold above $1,000, Tesla's no longer at a 30% discount. Tesla's at a 20% discount, which is still considered a major correction, right? Or embarrassed territory once you go beyond 20%. So I still think Tesla's extremely undervalued, especially with all the catalysts. I mentioned multiple times that Elon Musk finishing selling would be a huge catalyst. And as you can see here, without us even really knowing, the stock is running up like crazy, okay? Up over $100 or 10% over the last 2 days, all right? That's a hell of a run. I hope you got in when it was lower. I did. I'll talk more about what I did a little bit later. I did some different things I don't normally do, especially within the options world. So I'm excited to talk to you guys about that, but I just want to give it a little more time before I actually disclose what I've been doing. With that said, I don't really have much more to add to this conversation with regards to the stock price or the numbers or Elon selling. I think that he isn't done selling. I think we'll see more. I do think there's some, questionable suspect, signs that maybe he is done. I can't deny that. It'll be interesting. We'll know over the next couple of days. But in the big scheme of things, like I always say, it doesn't matter. None of this matters. The only thing that matters is 5 years down the road, 7 years down the road, 10 years down the road. Have a long-term horizon. Don't be short-sighted. All right, don't think quarter to quarter. Elon himself says this. Now, with that said, let's put the Tesla stuff to the side. Let me jump into a little bit about my life and why I didn't make a YouTube video yesterday. So yesterday, my fiance and I, we get done talking to the venue where we're going to be having our wedding. Our wedding's going to be down in Costa Rica. If you guys are interested more in why Costa Rica and the story behind all that, let me know below in the comments. If it's something you guys are interested in, I have no problem talking about that. I like the idea of making this channel a little more personable so that you guys know more about us as well. But with that said, we get done talking with the people for the venue, and we're in our bedroom and we're just laying down and we're just talking. And all of a sudden, I noticed this weird discoloration on my ceiling. Now, my house is about 4 stories, and on the very top, I have a rooftop. And so our bedroom is right below that rooftop. And so when I saw that discoloration, obviously my first thought was, oh, damn, I have some water damage. I've got a leak. Now, keep in mind, this house is brand new, right? Well, to an extent. It's a new build. I'm the only person who's ever lived in this. This was, kind of concerning, but at the same time, not that big of a deal. I took a measured approach. It's like, okay, well, let's first figure out what the problem is and go from there. So here's a picture of me using a thermal imaging camera to detect water leaks. And so take a look at this. So this thermal imaging camera is from Infrared Camera Inc. And they're I guess you can consider them a competitor for like Fluke or for FLIR. In my opinion, I have a lot of FLIR cameras. This is definitely by far the best I've ever used. It's extremely good. If you've never heard of it, Infrared Cameras Inc., check it out. They've got some great stuff, great products. But with that said, none of this is sponsored, by the way. So this is just a tool I happen to have. And so I was using this camera, and I obviously, boom, you can see my water. You can see there's water all over my ceiling. I had no idea where it's coming from. So the engineer in me just kind of took over, and it essentially nixed the ability for me to do a video yesterday because I don't know if it's just an engineering thing or what, but all of a sudden, boom, I had to solve this problem, and that's where my head went to. So I sat there, I took this picture, and I sat there and looked at it for maybe about 10, 15 minutes, and I tried to figure out where I thought the leak was coming from. And I asked my fiance to see what she would think, to see if we came to the same conclusion. But nevertheless, I tried to map out where I thought the leak was originating from. The odds of there being multiple leaks is very rare. As an engineer, when you start troubleshooting something, what you learn is multiple problems aren't common, right? Or let me rephrase that. What you find is that multiple things failing that is leading to a problem isn't common. Instead, what's normally happens is you have these multiple symptoms, but there's one common problem. So you need to figure out, how do I tie back all these symptoms to that problem? In my case here, I have all these different water spots, but what's happening? In my opinion, clearly I had a leak somewhere and it was dispersing throughout. So I had to figure out where the problem was, and I wasn't gonna go and pay someone $300 to $1,000 to come in and figure out where water is coming in from. Instead, I got my ladder, I looked at this, started cutting some holes. So what I did was I found the spot where I thought the leak was coming from. I cut about a shoulder width a hole into the ceiling, nice square cut, so that if somebody's going to come to do a repair for the drywall, it'd be easy for them to fit and repair it, right? So thinking ahead, right? Thinking about the repair, not just making holes aimlessly, and picking the right spot, right? Making the smart decision of where to try and tackle where I thought the most probable location was. Luckily, I was correct. I was able to cut the hole. I went up there, and here you can see a picture of where the leak was actually coming from. And here what you see is, you can see this is the plywood that is essentially the substrate between my ceiling and the roofing material above it. And so here you can see a little bit of the water that was coming in. And what was happening is this diagonal beam that you see going into the corner, water was coming down, trickling down that beam. And then the drywall, the way it meets, it kind of has a mitered edge, and it kind of meets like this. It's not really mitered, but it's just rounded. And so as it rounds and those pieces meet for the drywall, it creates a little channel, right? So it's almost like an aqueduct. And that aqueduct was essentially sending the water throughout all these locations, and that's why you see it everywhere on the thermal imaging camera. My point in telling you all of this is that just taking a little initiative and jumping up there, not being scared to cut drywall, not being scared to, move some insulation, and just do a little, basic 101 troubleshooting that anybody can do, right? None of this is rocket science. It's just looking for where water's coming from. But I saved anywhere from $300 to $1,000. Now I can choose to, do the repair myself up on the roof, or I can hire someone to come and do it. What I won't do is drywall myself. I am awful at drywall. I can hang it, but man, I cannot finish it. Drywall people are amazing. They are true artists. The way they feather, the way they blend, it's unparalleled. These people are just, their artistry is definitely underappreciated. But my whole point is that when it comes to investing, we want efficiency in how we treat every single dollar. And so if you can find ways to mitigate spending, I think this is a great example, right? Take a little initiative. Don't be scared. Step up to the plate. You can do more than what you think you can. So just want to share a little bit about what's going on with us over here. Luckily, found it pretty quickly. Wasn't that difficult. This is dry season in Florida, so it was just a random rain that happened to come in and happened to show up. So I'm not too worried about it moving forward. I've got tarps upstairs, everything. I mean, I already mitigated everything at this point. But shout out to my fiance for helping me set everything up and clean everything up. It was definitely a mess. Definitely had drywall, dust going everywhere, but you know, it all got cleaned up and everything is good to go now. Well, we're gonna leave it there for today. I'll see you guys tomorrow. I'll definitely be making another episode. Let's hope that Tesla closes above $1,000 today. And you know, hopefully this is the beginning of a nice, beautiful run to go into all-time highs and into 2022. All right, again, we're gonna leave it there. Do me a favor, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, ring that bell. Appreciate if you stuck to the end. Again, let me know down below in the comments if you're curious about us, where we're getting married, or any of that other stuff, or why Costa Rica, how we met. If you're interested in that kind of stuff, let me know. Maybe I'll get her to come on. Maybe I'll convince her, and then you guys can meet her formally. But again, with that said, I love you all. Appreciate it. Peace.